All right, everybody, this is Sheets, and I'm going to be going over my first look of the PGA tournament this coming weekend. And what I found over the last, since I've been doing these, is this process of Monday first look, Tuesday, first look with Bobby, and then Wednesday finalizing everything has been really, really powerful because you think about the way research comes out and content is released. I'd like to get my first look on Monday before I start getting inundated with all these other takes and all this other data. I like to rely on my own kind of instincts and my own knowledge and come up with what I think is going to be the case before I start becoming influenced. And it's really, really helpful last week, actually, because last week, as you recall, when I did my first look on Monday, first guy I kind of locked in on was Colin Morikawa. And fortunately, I did not let the wave of takes and the wave of content affect me too much. And it allowed me to kind of just build my ideas right from the beginning. And then as research came in, it was going to supplement those ideas. And I ended up building what I thought were really, really good lineups. Didn't work out. Look, golf is a lot of variance and a lot of players. So, I only played, several lineups that, I played some lineups, but not like an overwhelming amount. So I'm not particularly upset with the results. But the process was extremely good, and I'm going to continue doing it this way. So what I said last week before, in this first look of last week, was that it was going to be an interesting situation with this course because you're going to have 2 weeks in a row of the players playing on the same course. And what that was going to create is a very, very strong narrative. That being that you'd want to play the players that had a week on the course before. And more to the point, you're also probably going to get double narrative of DFS players wanting to play players that did well on that course the week before. And what I suggested is, while that is important, I feel as though, we'll see, that narrative is going to be oversold. And that is going to create actually huge ownership gaps between the people who did not play this week and the people who did last week, I should say. And so while, yes, I do think it is somewhat an advantage to have a run over the course, I don't believe that the ownership gap, which may happen between those two classes of players, is going to justify, really overweighting those players in this past week. I would say that if I had to rank what types of players I'd be looking for, I think the most valuable would be players who played this past week who just didn't play well, okay? For no other, it just didn't. It's golf. Those would probably be the guys you'd want to target the most, okay? Because players that are played last week and did well last week have just had double narrative streak going, which means you're going to have double the ownership, I think, than they should. So those are the guys that I got to be very, very careful about, especially if from a price perspective, they don't kind of fall in. I think the next group, I think it's tied between the people who didn't play at all and the people who played but played well. I actually feel as though I want to prefer the people that didn't play at all over the players that played last week and happened to have played well. Because again, I just feel as though the ownership is going to just reflect that away, just significantly higher than it should. But we'll see. We'll see how ownership kind of plays in. The other thing I mentioned last week is that they are going to grow the rough a little bit more over the next couple of days. So it's going to be even more important to make the fairways. And as we saw this past week, it was very important to make the fairways already. So I think it becomes even more so going into this week. So the first thing I'll look at when I'm going to look over here at these salaries is that you have guys that didn't play last week. Like you're getting DeChambeau, you're getting McIlroy, you're getting Johnson, and Webb Simpson right down the line. And the first thing I will notice is, the DFS community through DFS pricing or whatever, they've laid down the gauntlet. They have decided that Bryson DeChambeau is now the #1 player in the world, right? That's just what people have decided, whether right or wrong. He's 11-1, and Thomas and McIlroy are both 10-9, 10-7, so that's the gauntlet that they've laid down. I will say that I don't think this is the right course for him. but they've had bad courses for him in the last couple of weeks, and he's done really, really well. But that's my initial just kind of thought on DeChambeau, but forget that. Let's talk about prices. Let's talk about the things that I notice. And what I'm going to do this week is the same as last. It's kind of go, how will they say, like panel by panel, right? So I'm going to look at everybody I can see, and then I'm going to go back, scroll down. And the first thing I notice, again, is that, they gave Morikawa this incredible price jump from 9.2 to 10K, despite the fact that, or actually maybe it was a little less, up to 10K, despite the fact that it's a tougher field. And, it's just got everything going against it, right? Because it's going to be over-owned because he played last week, double over-owned because he kicked butt last week. And it's, I don't know if I'm going to go to him. I mean, the first thing I noticed from this panel is that Dustin Johnson is overpriced, okay? He should not be, in my opinion, along the same lines of these top 4 guys. And the other thing I'll notice is that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that they're just begging you to play. So to a lesser extent, Webb Simpson, but Webb Simpson, I mean, this course is just perfect for him. And him at 9,600, I think is super steady, and I think he's a lock to make the cut, and it's a lock to make top 20. He could certainly win this tournament really easily. And the other 3 right on this board are Hideki, Rahm, and Xander. All 3 of those guys look really, really cheap. I mean, especially relative to these top guys. I mean, Rahm has been crap, okay? But guy's great. And golf has a lot of variance to it. And if you don't play well for 1 or 2 weeks, it's not the end of the world. I know for myself from when I play. It's just not the way it goes. And so if you can get Rahm at 9,300, I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, the fact is that it's probably going to be high owned, but we'll see. But the first thing I look at, honestly, in this first panel, is that Xander, Rahm, and Hideki are just where I'm going to start, okay? And Webb, I mean, all 4 of those guys. If I could get like 3 of those 4, all 4 of them in or whatever, I don't really need to have DeChambeau, Thomas, McIlroy. But it depends on what the rest of the board looks like. But that's my first instinct on this first panel. As we go down the next panel here, that's when you get Koepka down to here. I'm not going to play Tiger. I just don't feel as though coming off a long layup, he's ready on this first go-around back. Not that, anything's particularly bad about it, but I just would rather give him one shot to put it around. Justin Rose, I think, again, is going to be over-owned because of course fit, and I'm just not a big fan of that. What I do notice on this first board here, the second panel, is once again 3 guys that are just really just super cheap. One is Woodland, and then, oh my God, Patrick Reed and Im at 84 and 8,200. I mean, that to me is what stands out. Let's just put it that way. Like, I'm not a Berger at 8,700 compared to that. I might go back to Answer at 8,500, but even him, man, I'd much rather play Reed and Im. And yeah, they haven't really done the greatest the last couple of weeks, but I really feel as though golf is more long-term, ability. And I don't even mean to go back 5 years, but over the last year, I'll give the guy a break. I mean, you're only playing. You think about this, only 4 rounds a week. And not to mention they're 4 months off. I mean, it's really not a great big sample size in there. So for me, the last couple of weeks, I don't really care. I mean, I'm going to go with Im and Reed. Those are really, really cheap prices. Like Fitzpatrick. I love Fitzpatrick. He's been great for me. But wouldn't you rather just pay an extra 100 for Im or for Reed? I mean, to me, this is where we're at. I mean, it's going to be just like a couple of weeks ago when we almost took it down. It's going to be a bunch of guys under 9,500 and above 8K that could just jam my whole lineup together, which, hey, I'm in for that. We'll do a sample lineup later to show you how this could play out. But let's go down a little bit. So this next panel over here, there's only one guy. Again, this is first, actually 2 that really stand out. One is Leishman at 8,800. I mean, I'm totally into that. He is a GPP type play. He has a lot of variance to him, which is fine. I mean, and he's only 7,800. He was 86 last week, I think, and he had a real big blow-up round, which, that's what happens. You might go back to Ann at 7,700. So those are the two guys from this panel that I'm kind of looking at. And the rest of it really is not, I'm not a Kuchar guy. Day was better, so he might get a little more ownership, which I don't need. Let's go scroll down a little bit. All right, so this is Wolf at 7,400 is more palatable. You know what I mean? And Bobby and I had this discussion last week. He's like, why wouldn't anybody play him? I just thought it was just going to be too expensive. And this week he's back to 7,400, makes a little more sense. But the guy who's really standing out in my first look here is going to be Harris English. Harris English, I mean, he's very, very steady. He was just really in good form before the break. And he busted, I think, week 1, and then he did really well week 2, and then he took a little time off. I think he's in very good shape here. People are going to forget about him because he didn't play last week. This would be my main pick off of this panel. And let's see, let's go down a little bit more. Yeah, okay, so in this panel here, 2 guys again stand out, maybe 3. This is just first look. Dahmen coming off an atrocious performance this past weekend. I'd love for people to just come and say, well, obviously this is not the course for him. Listen, if he ended up 2 over, you know, tell me that it's the course or whatever. But if he's like 9 over, which is what he was, I mean, he just was just bad. He wouldn't have, it's not as if he would have been better on any other course. He was just bad, and that's what happens. Golfers can just look bad sometimes. It's the way it goes. So him, I'd go right to him. Varner at 7,100, nice and steady. I would go back to Van Rooyen, who destroyed people a couple of weeks ago. So if the 7,100 range, there's a couple of guys I could play. And now when you go down here, I don't think you're going to have to do this. Like, you want to go back to home at 6,800? Okay. Some of these other guys, I don't know. Who's the other guy around here? You want to go back to Munoz at 6,500 or Ortiz at 6,400? Yeah, you could do that. I don't think you need to, though. If you're going to build the way I think you're going to want to build, what if you want to go to Jay Janana, don't want to play you, right? You want to play Neesmith at 6,200? That's something. But do you have to? Like, for example, let's go through. Let's just see. Let's just have some fun. Let's just go Hideki, Schauffele, Rahm. Like, these are all guys literally that can win the tournament, okay? Reed, Im. Like, okay, so I wasn't able to get 5 of them in, but you can get like 4 of these dudes in, like, with relative ease. And let's say you don't even like him. Let's say you go back to, let's say you think that Hideki is like significantly better than him for whatever reason. I mean, there's no way, but let's just say. Even if you did that, then if you have to pick one guy under 7K, right? So you can go and pick somebody like super solid. You can pick Varner, and then you just need to get one of these guys. So now's where you could play your Ortiz if you want to, right? So you could totally do that. But let's say that this looks really good, actually. I mean, you got that one punt, and you literally have 4 guys in this lineup that can win the tournament. And I'd rather have something like that for a GPP than one of these top guys and maybe end up 3 guys that can win the tournament. This is really strong. Let's say you don't want to do this. Let's say that if you want to go down even more, and you're telling me that Woodland can't win the tournament at 8,600? So if you do that, then you don't even need to go down to Ortiz. Then you could play, want to play Wolf? You want to play English? Nah, that's something. So you could have 2 super solid guys at the 7K range and literally 4 guys that can win this tournament, you know, and make a really good lineup. Now, I don't know where ownership's going to play into all this, but again, maybe everybody's going to have this idea, but it's certainly very easy to get a lot of juice in here. Now, again, you're giving stuff up. You play this way. You know what you're not getting? You're not getting the best players. You know, you're not getting DeChambeau. You're not getting Thomas. You're not getting McIlroy. You're not getting – I'm not too worried about Johnson. Can't lay, yeah, okay. I mean, so you can't have everybody. Colin Morikawa, I have no problem fading off that performance. So this is I think that this is a very, very easy way to build. Okay, I'm not saying it's easy to win, right? But it's an easy way to build and be very, very comfortable with four full guys with full legitimate first place winning chances, which if you can actually get that in a GPP in golf, I mean, that's really, really strong. So that's going to be my first look at this. I mean, even let's say you want to get a little greedy. Let's say you want to take, I think, Webb Simpson. And now here you're going to have to be a little bit sneakier, right? You have to probably play another, you have to play another short guy. So here is Ortiz. You want to go play Ortiz down here? Yeah. So this, you can do this. So if you want to get up to Webb Simpson, that's how you have to go down from Harris English to Ortiz. Is the difference between Simpson and, say, Hideki that much more? That much? I don't know. Play them both. Play one with Simpson and Ortiz and another one with Hideki and English. But this is this is first look, but this is the first way I think this is what I'm going to end up doing. I'll take guys like Schauffele, Rahm, Reed, Woodlands, Webb Simpson, and play for them. And I might even set a rule, whatever. I don't even have to set a rule. I can do it manually, and just make sure to play 4 of them in every lineup and just balance the crap out of this thing. And I know who I'm rooting for, and I know who I'm rooting against. Nice and easy. Now again, it's easy. Like Mike Tyson once said, right? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, and you end up DeChambeau with 8 under after the first day. You go, oops. But that's the way. That's gambling, right? But this is my, just in case. Just in case. I'll put that in. Just in case. But that's my initial look, and I'll be curious to see how much I get off of it when Bobby and I start talking based on research and things like that. But that's going to be my initial first look at PGA for this coming week. I guess that's about it.